All right. Well, we are back with another recap. Championship weekend happened, and people are not happy with the result. Man, lots to talk about, lots to get into. I thought overall it was, pretty couple electric games. I mean, look, I'll get into it later in terms of just like the results, especially with the Chiefs and the Bills and the referees and all that shit like that. But I think when we're just looking at like, just overall weekend of games, I thought both games were so good. I thought both games were really great to watch. I wasn't really a diehard fan for either one. I would have been happy if the Commanders made it. Really happy the Eagles did. I think Saquon deserves a chance at the Super Bowl. I'm happy to see Jalen Hurts. I've been a fan of him since he was in Bama. You got AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. I think Nick Sirianni has done an incredible job. I know probably a lot of people won't agree with that. Even like Philly fans won't agree with that, which I think is a little bizarre. That your own coach is brought you up to the Super Bowl in the past. I don't know how many 3 seasons so far. Like two times in the past 3 seasons, and yeah, I don't know. But they just ran through the Commanders, and I thought they did an incredible job with their game plan. Saquon was unbelievable, and so they ran themselves right into the Super Bowl. And then we have the Chiefs. We have the Chiefs against the Bills, and it's one of those things where you sit here thinking like, if you're a Bills fan, if you're Josh Allen, you're thinking, what more do you have to do to get past Mahomes and the Chiefs and the refs for some people? Look, honestly, I thought, like, for me, honestly, I thought that everything leading up to like this game, I was just concerned about the bad calls from the refs. Like, I'm not a guy that will say that Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelsey and all the rest of the Chiefs, like, they only win because of the refs. I don't think they only win because of them. I think they're incredible. I feel like they've already placed themselves on a legendary status, in my opinion. I'm a Tom Brady fan, grew up rooting for the Patriots and, their run and all that. I just I don't think you should be. I don't think anyone should be taking away how great Mahomes is and how great Andy Reid is. I just think though that like the refs really seem to favor a lot of the calls on them. And honestly, I was livid last week with just like the calls the refs needed, and then this week too. Although this week I think there were just a couple really big calls that I didn't agree with, and we can get into that game first. Like, you know, like it's just interesting how the referees' questionable calls seem to favor the Chiefs, right? I don't think there's a rigged conversation to be had. I don't think the NFL's rigged because it would just I mean, it's not. The amount of people that have to be involved for this to be rigged. I just think that's kind of stupid, my opinion. But I do think that for some reason there's a favorableness to the Chiefs where I don't know. It's like maybe I don't know. Like I don't know why, but like that 4th and 1 call, I don't know how that's like. I'm not saying it was flat out blatant that it was a first down, but it was. If you just look at the video, right? Like it's Josh Allen's like, I feel like he crosses the line. And then I think what's even actually more damning than the Josh Allen one is the Kincaid one literally right before, right? He falls on the ground, and I don't know how they don't call that a first down. Like, I know that line on TV is more of an estimate, and that's not the actual like first down in a sense, but it kind of is. And I don't know. Like, that to me was so like suspect. That call was suspect. Um, to not have Kincaid's one be a first down, and then the Chiefs. I think they get points the other way after that. 4th and 1 missed call or whatever. I mean, even the Xavier Worthy call too. I mean, when you look at that Worthy catch too, I think that's another one of those things. That one I'm not as so sure about what the ruling on is on that one. I think I think there's an argument to be made that it was a catch just because like the ball didn't move when it hit the ground, but the way I kind of saw it was that he didn't have like full control on the ball. So like if you have the ball and he has one hand on it and the ball hits the ground, that's the argument that I was seeing. Um, I mean, that was a hell of a play. Like honestly, hell of a play. I didn't think it was a catch, but again, that's me being biased, I guess, towards just not liking what the referees have been calling. I'm just more annoyed with the that 4th and 1, and it's more like the number one call for me was that Dalton Kincaid one where like he just they didn't spot him first down on that one. I don't get it. That to me was just bizarre. You know, but if you look at it, okay, now gotten the ref thing out of the way, and talked about that, and kind of looked into all that whole thing. I think if you just look at also what the Chiefs of what Spags did, especially in that last play when he sent the blitz to Josh Allen, which I mean, last thing on the refs is that if I feel like if that was Mahomes who got sacked like that, he would have probably been a roughing the passer flag there. But that's just neither here nor there. I do think like the Spags did an incredible job this game. I think that what the Chiefs were able to do to this Josh Allen defense, and honestly, like it's not like they held them down to 20 less than 20 points. The Bills put up 29 points, and there were still great plays that Josh Allen made. I thought he played really well. He used his legs. I think questionable calls in terms of like the Bills side with Brady and McDermott, and I know Bills fans may not be pumped that I don't know during those last couple plays or whatever that James Cook, I don't know, was he not on the field? I think that was a thing. And even on the 2-point conversions and the multiple tush push, like that was also what I didn't get is just not, why would they, you didn't get success with a tush push, and like, why would you revert back to it? It's not as automatic apparently as people want to believe it is. I think that, going back on the Chiefs side of things and how Spags was able to, really like put the pressure on and just, force, like, I thought they did a good job of forcing the Bills to need to be creative in how they would move the ball forward, and the Bills didn't do that. I didn't think like those plays in this past year, this past season that were go-to plays for Josh Allen and the Bills. I thought they should have turned to those kind of plays, and they didn't, and I think it was just a great job done by the Bills defense as a team, as a unit, as a whole, and I'll get to a second on the offensive side, but with what the Chiefs did, but I just think they made really strong defensive stands in really critical moments, and I think if you look at red zone efficiency in this game, I think that the Chiefs capitalized on the red zone. There were turnovers, right, that they were able to turn into points, where the Bills just couldn't really do the same. I think that was just those little things. Just playing solid football is kind of really what helped the Chiefs win this game, and that's what you get with an Andy Reid team. An Andy Reid Chiefs team is just solid football play will help you win. And again, the refs, whatever, they're there. I didn't like the refs. I didn't like their calls, but I can't deny that the Chiefs, like, they didn't just put an egg and the refs carried them. They played really well, sound football, did not beat themselves. That was just a big part of how the Chiefs plays. They don't beat themselves, and it doesn't seem like, teams can beat the Chiefs if the Chiefs don't beat themselves, right? I think quickly just getting into like how Spags was able to really be effective this game. I think I think they talked about in the broadcast. I've watched other analysts and people like that talk about what Spags did, and I think Romo touched on it, is like in this game he kind of like, I guess they call it simulated pressures, right? So he would frequently show like a blitz pre-snap, but then he would drop his defenders into coverage post-snap and then kind of create confusion, a little hesitation for Josh Allen and things like that. And then you saw in the last play, right? Like, I think he didn't show blitz, and then they once he snapped the ball, I think they just rushed him, and something that Josh Allen wasn't expecting, so he kind of had to scramble, which he did still scramble, right? He did still scramble for it, and I thought that was really a great play by Josh Allen, but also again even bigger play by Spags, the defense, and also credit to the defense of the Chiefs to execute it, right? Because you can't just have these drawn up schemes and plays, and if it doesn't work, then what good is it, right? So I think too, he like I have in my notes here, he rotated safeties in the post snap, so it just was hard for Allen to identify like defensive alignments, and he'd lead and you could tell in the beginning he would really force throws into a bit of tight coverage. Even the play where he like threw the ball away, but he was just right in the middle of coverage. It looked kind of scary if you're a little bit if you're a Bills fan, but no one was there and no one got it. But like there were some plays where I think Josh Allen was kind of feeling the pressure a little bit in the beginning of the game. But I do think that like a lot of the containment of Josh Allen, like there were definitely plays where he was able to go out and use his legs. I think there was one really big drive, I think in the second half, or end of the first half or something. But he, for the most part, right, like he was contained, and the D ends, they maintain that outside leverage, and just they prevented Josh Allen from really escaping the pocket a lot, and making a lot of plays on the run. So I think having the awareness of just knowing Josh Allen's skill, which I mean, I was so surprised when on the flip side, like Mahomes had 2 rushing touchdowns, and the one where his goal line basically where they didn't guard him. I mean, it was just very shocking to me in terms of the Bills' defensive decisions in guarding Mahomes versus just again how great Spags did a great job this game in defending Josh Allen. But he still put up 29 points. He still made really good throws, and even that one to Kincaid, like if Kincaid catches that, he puts his hand on it. He's kind of on a side angle, so it was a little harder. But I think a lot of people would say he should have had that one. It's tough. It's a tough catch to have, I think. But still, like you're gonna make that catch if you're a receiver in the NFL. You're gonna make that catch, and that was just a rough way for them to go out. But again, like Spags did a really good job, just really good coverage, good timely blitzes, disciplined play. Played a really big role in just the Chiefs' ability to stop the Bills and Josh Allen. So really good job for them. I think even at the set, that 2-point conversion really held the line there at the goal line. And in the second half, that could have been huge, right? The game would have been 18-21. Who knows? Just the way that they changed their play. The Bills changed their play by only being down by 3 instead of needing a touchdown. Just things like that, right? Those things affect the game. And it's a really close game. Really good one, but really close game. I think when you look at the offensive side of the ball for the Chiefs, this was a game where like they really utilized the ground game. I think this weekend was about the ground game, winning the ground game. You saw with the Eagles. Now, I mean, the Chiefs game here, Kareem Hunt, 12-yard touchdown, opening drive, right? Patrick Mahomes, 2 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, one, right at the 1-yard line. That's when I thought the coverage was a little suspect. And then 10-yard run in the fourth quarter. But then also again, you look at like Mahomes just like putting it on at the time of the year where you always need it. He gets like he throws for 245 yards, touchdown, 18 for 26, and that worthy big touchdown pass there. And you look at the production for a lot of the guys, you go from Worthy, 85 yards, Juju Smith-Schuster, 60 yards, Hollywood Brown, 35. I mean, Travis Kelce only had like 2 receptions, 19 yards. It wasn't like he played, some crazy all-star game, but if you look at what he does away from, the touchdown stats and things like that, like, there's a lot of what they do. And this is why, again, like I talked about earlier, a bought-in Andy Reid football team is everyone's going to play their part. Everyone's going to do what they need to do to play solid, like disciplined football and like complementary football. And even though there were like turnovers and things like that, or there was maybe I think just one turnover, or how many, I don't know how many turnovers, but there was a turnover, right, with Mahomes or whatever. They still ended up with the win. They still ended up, coming out on top in the end, just because you look at the way they play. And even the story of like Xavier Worthy, right? I mean, the Bills literally traded him. They traded their pick to the Chiefs, and the Chiefs were able to get Xavier Worthy, and it's crazy and ironic how it all turns out that way, right? Like, just being able to like utilize a guy that someone like the Bills didn't think was, like useful for the team or whatever. Again, sure they had their reasons as to why they traded that pick and everything, but like again, just having contributions and like complementary football all around is so huge. And you look at special teams, right? Like 41-yard punt return, um, like short field touchdown drive, like a lot of these plays all add up, right? And I mean, it's just to me. I mean, look, I wasn't going for the Chiefs in this game. Like I think Mahomes is great. I think Andy Reid's great. Kelsey, um, you know, all these guys, legendary run, right? And they're in the midst of doing something pretty incredible. I was going for the Bills, but you just can't help but look and like, damn, how does this Chiefs team keep like coming up with wins? And I know people say the refs, and honestly, I'm in that camp. If I had to pick one of like, do the refs help them out more than not? I think they do, but at the same time, like if the Bills had help from the refs, I don't think you'd be hearing Bills fans be saying, "Oh, the refs shouldn't have gave us that call or this and that or whatever." So Chiefs fans are gonna deny that the refs are involved. Everyone else is gonna say, "Hey, that's a bit of a questionable call. It is what it is." But I just think from a football standpoint, um, the Chiefs, you just can't doubt how the Chiefs seem to pull it off. They and the mistake sometimes that other teams make is a result of what the Chiefs do to them that maybe, regular fans like me or whatever who aren't as close to the game don't realize that a lot of the mistakes that are caused is because the Chiefs are doing something, right? To make that happen or whatever. And sometimes just not execution. Like sometimes there's that weird aura or this like this this aura that you're playing against the Chiefs and they're somehow going to pull a win off and you grip the ball a little too tight. I mean, I grew up playing hockey, so it's like, you have that feeling sometimes when you're facing a team or if you're watching the NHL and you're like, okay, this powerhouse team always seems to pull out wins, just like in any sport, right? Like there is that aura that certain teams can give off that they're going to win regardless of what happens. And, the Chiefs seem to have that right now, but hey, they're going to be up against a big opponent in the Eagles. And honestly, like, it's not just because of the refs thing, but I'm rooting for the Eagles in this one coming up because I want to see them. I want to see Saquon win. I think he really deserves it after kind of all that shit that went down with the Giants, but also just him being a really good player. And also, I think Sirianni deserves it. I think Jalen Hurts deserves it. I mean, AJ Brown, a lot of those guys are really incredible players. And I just want to see, like, it would just be really cool to see Saquon really lift the Lombardi. So that'd be really cool. But as far as this game, like, yeah, not much to say that, I guess hasn't already been touched on, but like, who I do really feel bad for in this instance is Josh Allen. Like I think it's just like you're put in this division where you're gonna have to deal with Mahomes forever, right? His whole playing career, he's gonna have to find one unless he moves himself to the other division, right? Like if he goes to the NFC, you want to deal with Mahomes, but or something, or I don't know if unfortunately Mahomes gets hurt one year and that's everyone's opening, right? Like, um, but that's the champs are the champs, and like you said, you have to beat them to be the champs. You have to beat them to get to the Super Bowl. Like Ric Flair, to beat the man, you have to beat the man, and unfortunately on this game they didn't. So it's just tough. I think honestly, I do think that a lot of credit does have to go for the Bills' success here this year. Josh Allen, like this year, like they I think there were a lot of questions surrounding them, right? You lose Diggs and you think, all right, well, this team, Josh Allen can't do it without him. And look at them. They ended up in the AFC Championship and, with with a brand new team in a sense, arguably better than last year, maybe. But yeah, it's a rough thing to have to pick between one of these two teams to head to the Super Bowl. But hey, like it's what it is what it is. It's kind of why you play the game. And I think, Josh Allen is an unbelievable player. I do hope that he is going to get his chance to make it a Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl. But right now, Chiefs, it's their time, and they were able to get it done. So Okay, now moving on to the NFC Championship. The Eagles dominated. They dominated the Commanders in this game. And also, it all started. This game's basically went how every Eagles fan would have wanted it to go and how they would have expected to go if they were to predict a win by the Eagles, and that starts and ends with Saquon, right? Literally the first drive they had, right? I think the Commanders had a first drive that took about like, was it 10 minutes or something like that? And then the Eagles had a first drive that took about 6 minutes, but they were to get 7 points on the board. And they did in like what, 3 plays or whatever, however many it was in that first drive. I think what kind of gets lost a little bit. I think what kind of gets lost a little bit. It could be the effectiveness of this Eagles O line, right? I think blocking. Saquon can only do what he's done if he has good running lanes, and you have to credit the O line for creating and blocking, creating those lanes, blocking players in front, and those, like that first 60-yard touchdown on that first drive was unbelievable. Just exactly how you want to start if you're an Eagles fan. Even you saw Saquon when he first scored, he's just like, all right, we're just getting started, or it's not, it's not done yet. It's like we still gotta go, and this whole game, Saquon ended up with what, like 118 yards, I think, 3 touchdowns on 15 carries, which is an unbelievable stat line for him. Yeah, 118 yards, 15 carries, 3 touchdowns. I mean, he is going to be the guy they look to in the Super Bowl to really set the tone, be their scoring threat, and you got to believe that Andy Reid and Spags are going to have something for Saquon. But I don't know if people can stop him, and honestly, I hope they don't, because it'd be so fun to watch Saquon run all over the field on the Super Bowl. But you also got to look. I think I also have to credit Jalen Hurts too. Like, the knock on him is that he can't throw, stays in the pocket too long, and honestly, I think that's credible kind of critique on him. If you hear Tom Brady's in the broadcast, so I think he's done a great job. I think Tom's done a really good job over the season. There's moments where he's like, all right, Jalen Hurts holds on to the ball a little too long. Holds on too long. You got to throw it. You got to throw it there. You got to throw it here. Like there's those moments where holds on for just a little too long. He'll miss like AJ Brown or Devontae Smith on a route or whatever. So that's something that they're gonna have to. I think Spags is gonna really try to exploit that. In the Super Bowl, like just knowing that Jalen Hurts has a tendency, if you put pressure on him, he'll hold on the ball a little too long. So that look for that, something like that to happen. But this game, Hurts completed 20 for 28 passes, 246 yards, got a touchdown. I think if you look at just targets wise, AJ Brown, 96 yards, 6 receptions, he got a touchdown too. I think this Eagles team is playing exactly, I think, how they want to play going into the Super Bowl. You look at from an offensive standpoint, so many things are clicking. Like Jalen Hurts did throw, I think, a couple really good balls this game, a couple really good dots this game. I think Saquon's just unreal. He's on fire with just the way that he's playing. And then you got people like AJ Brown also getting like the yardage he's expected to getting receptions there, getting passes. So overall, right, like they're playing really well, and I think that this time around for the Eagles, like this is an opportunity that they don't want to mess up. They're not going to fuck up. They're not going to let this slip. Hopefully they've learned from their last time in the Super Bowl that like this is not you don't want to take this game for granted. You don't want to take these moments for granted. And I think too, if you look at like it's not this game, if you look at 55-23, you would think, all right, it was just a blowout, offense just dominated. I think the defense also dominated too, right? Like they forced 4 turnovers, and it wasn't like if you can look at that and go, oh well, the thing the Commanders did wrong was giving the ball up 4 times. And I don't think that it was just the Commanders giving the ball up. I think you have to really look at what the Eagles did and forcing those turnovers and forcing those, plays that happened. Because that's just a big a part of it as anything, right? Like what the Eagles did on defense was an incredible job this game. And and there were a lot of I think if you look at Nick Sirianni, I think there were a lot of aggressive play call decisions that they benefited from in this game. Fourth and five, that fourth and five play, and it was like a 31-yard completion from Hurts to AJ Brown, and that drive ended in a touchdown. And if you also look at like special teams and just the ability to get balls, I think this is also something that the Chiefs are going to have to look out for. Is that the Eagles really go for that peanut punch, right? Like they really go to knock the ball out of receivers' hands, out of runners' hands when they're recovering the ball or returning the ball the other way. So look for that to be a big thing. But I just feel like the Eagles are playing with such momentum and like confidence, and so we'll see what kind of game happens in the Super Bowl. Where is it going to be a close game? Like, is it going to be a game that's more like what the Eagles had, or is it going to be a game closer to what the Bills and the Chiefs had? And is it a case of where once one team really finds their footing and they kind of lock in and get a roll, they're gonna slowly run away with it, or is it one of those where right to the end, it's gonna end up being such a nail biter? And so I don't know. I think because I think there's potential for both. I think the Eagles and for both teams. I think both teams have the ability to run away with the game, but I also think there's a chance that this could just be really, really close. So, like in terms of this game, where I just thought that the Eagles did a great job in all facets of the game, all sides of the ball, and you have like a lot of doubters, a lot of haters of just how Philly was during. They went through a stretch this year where people were kind of questioning how good of a team they could actually be, and especially questioning Nick Sirianni as a coach. And I mean, I don't know. I've never understood the hate for Sirianni from even both like from outside noise and fans of the Eagles. It's like, you know, they could win the Super Bowl. And if they start the season off 0-4, people are going to want him fired, and that's just what's very wild about that environment, I guess, that fan base, that environment. But hey, like two Super Bowls in whatever it was, 3 years. I think Sirianni deserves a lot more credit, for actually being a pretty damn good head coach. And I think that just the way that they showed this game, like that they were not going to let this be close, that they were going to finish the job and walk themselves into the Super Bowl, or run themselves into the Super Bowl, was pretty incredible. And I think like one of the big things that is going to need to happen in the Super Bowl that I did see in this game was the fact that like there were overall pretty good decisions made by Hurts. I think it's really going to start with him. Like interceptions, bad throws, those are sometimes the Achilles heel of Jalen Hurts, and then those snowball. And then if Saquon can't get the run going, that's when it starts to become okay. Like now they're in a bit of a hole, and they're in a bit of a tough spot because like you can't rely on the run game, and sometimes Jalen Hurts just has to take care of the ball a little bit more sometimes when he goes through those kind of games. But overall, like this game, I thought he did a great job. Didn't give the ball up, didn't throw an interception. And the tush push, right? The tush push is going to be like their enemy. We saw that craziness that on the line and the goal line there, and on that what is that? That's like what quarter was that? I think the second quarter or whatever it was, or third quarter. But that's going to be a big weapon because you saw the Bills not be able to execute that tush push effectively. And I think you're going to get a very different story when it comes to the Eagles because they're a team that can do it. They're a team that knows how to really use that tush push to their advantage. Almost the only team, really. And like it's going to be interesting to see how the Chiefs try to stop that. But overall, it's going to be not my favorite Super Bowl. Not the one I'm looking forward to the most. I'm just getting worried about the refs and the calls and whatever, that whole thing. I talked about in my other the video with the Chiefs, but like I just want this to be decided by the players. I don't which is hard. Apparently, it's a hard thing to ask like just let the players decide it, but I just hope it's not as controversial, and because it's a bummer, I mean, it's a Super Bowl, and it's just there's so much on the line for both sides, and to let it, to kind of leave it in the hands of refereeing and officiating is just it's a bummer, So that's something that I hope we at least just get a good game, and a game where the refs don't try to involve themselves, right? That's basically my hope. But I am pulling for the Eagles in the Super Bowl. I hope they win it. I think a lot of guys on the team deserve it. Nick Sirianni deserves it. Should be fun to watch for sure.